and we are here to interview Augusto, who's a director, and his film The Mountain is nominated for the Best Romantic Comedy Film Award at Houston Comedy Film Festival Summer 2022. How's it going?
It's going good. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you. So where are you located?
Right now I'm actually in Lima, Peru. Um, Very far from Houston, but still coming.
All right. Well, what's the connection to Texas? Please explain, how this whole thing
Yeah,
happened.
of course. So yeah, most like all of the film was actually shot in Houston while I was here, right? Like I've been an international student and I shot it with my friends. Um, and that's like we wrapped like 2021, but then I went back home and in that process I finished the film and I was able to work with a composer, which I really want to do to come up with like a good score because I didn't want to do like a lot of stock. And yeah, so it was just a hybrid of like shooting everything in Houston and then like taking the whole project with me back to Peru and finishing it here and just doing a little bit of back and forth with some collaborators.
So was this like a pre-COVID thing, or was this after? Like, where, and when
Yeah.
did this all happen?
So this was a COVID thing, and we like that was like honestly like a big production hurdle was just trying to like always like test before sets and like ensuring that like okay like we have to have these type of logistics for outdoor shoots and then these type of logistics for indoor shoots. So yeah, that was like on top of the very guerrilla style filmmaking that was adopted during the production. Yeah, that was another hurdle that we had to overcome, and it was, but yeah, it just made like the final result that much more. I don't know, like good to have in your hands. Because it's like all these things, and then we still were able to come up with a film.
Okay. Well, it turned out really well. Can you kind of give the audience an idea of what they're going to see this summer? What's the synopsis?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's about a guy, a man that's trying to propose to his girlfriend in the most romantic, grandiose way possible, and he's going to stop very few things to get his way. And it's
Mhm.
pretty much a little bit about relationships and the push and pulls and how is it okay to give and how much is it like good to take. So hopefully I'm exploring that dynamic and giving each character like an interesting point of view that no one is necessarily right or wrong. So we had a lot of fun on set exploring with that, and there's like a lot of different locations. I try to include a lot, so it really feels like a mini movie, and hopefully that makes it very dynamic and like really gets the audience in the head of Michael's shenanigans, which is the protagonist.
That's an interesting technique, is to make sure that you kind of mix it up. There are so many films that we get that are shot in just one location, and they can look very stagnant because it's just like two people at a table, and it's like, wow, you
Mm-hmm.
can tell these people had a restaurant for 6 hours, you know, which you know, you,
Yeah, no, I feel you. Like, and I was very aware of that right off the outset. It's like especially being a student, like all these stigmas, right? So it's like tips to make your short film better to one or two locations. Keep it simple. And I was like, great. I'm not gonna do that. So it's like a fine line between like understanding the risk and like, okay,
yeah.
acknowledge. I'm still gonna go ahead and just try to like shame up a lot of different locations. I think for me, it just mainly came down to pacing and was there, and as long as I could string like the emotional arc of the characters, I wanted that visual flair of like them moving around and them being at like a little bit more locations so that everything feels a little bit more chaotic. It's still moving and progressing towards like a final spot. And yeah, hopefully that's
Oh, we lost it for a brief.
sorry.
All right, we're back.
Uh,
Sorry about that.
I'm sorry. Yeah, where did we leave off?
Well, you were talking about just how you wanted to show your actors in these various situations. We were talking about just
Yes. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
typical book 101 of you know how you should shoot a short film and how you went against the grain a little bit.
Yeah, so I was saying pretty much like, yeah, as long as there's like the string that is pulling you into the characters, I was willing to like juggle a few extra locations and hopefully feel like there's a progression towards the last locations, and
Mhm.
hopefully those last locations really like, hit you in the spot so everything feels more cohesive and work. And honestly, it was like that approach to the movie was also very exciting for me because I love shooting in like these like more exotic locations, and I love just trying to like make it work, and like it can be really freeing, like it's always cool when you have like a big crew and everything is like very like logistics driven, and like you get like your setups done and you have your whole crew. But it's also fun whenever you just have like minimal crew and you're just trying to go like all the way to this, and you're confined within a budget, and that's where hopefully creativity can have like a bigger say on how, like, okay, like you have these limitations but you have this goal, and how can you make it work with the resources that you have.
Yeah, that's a good approach. That's pretty outside the box thinking. How did you do
Hmm.
your casting? Was it a requirement from your school to use,
Hmm.
actors and things that were from your school, or how did that work?
Yeah, so the whole creative approach was very, very freeing. It was just like I had full control of whatever I wanted to do. School-wise, it was very good because they were really collaborative. Like we were able to like use a lot of their resources, right? So like all the equipment and like um, so that was really helpful, and just like being able to like talk it out with the professor so we could reserve ahead with the dates and all that planning that went involved. But yeah, like the casting was like fully up to me. Like as long as I like delivered like a project at the end of the semester, they couldn't care if it was like of a certain like standard, of course. So
Mhm.
casting just went down to feeling like a combination, of course, of like the best characters, like and the best actors for the role, but also the ones that could feel the most like also like buddies that like work through thick and thin with them, because we're also asking a lot of our actors, right? Like there's like a really passion project feeling involved in the making of this, right? So for Michael, the actor is also called Michael Rizzo. He's great. We knew that we wanted like a very fiery Michael, like a very like high energy, like crazy looking, like a little bit of like a certain type of like facial expressions and the big eyes and hairstyle. And he just had like all the, I don't know, that like he just looked the part the most, and then it was just like being able to secure him like also for the vulnerable spot. So like also being able to know that he was there emotionally, and that like we were able to come up with a character and like really enrich it emotionally, because we also didn't want to rely like purely on the more slapstick side, because we knew that he had hit that down, right? Like that was his brand. So then our decision to cast him just came down to like, okay, like let's also try and drill these more serious emotional moments. And then for Deborah, it was also like an older classmate that we had done improv with, so we were already familiar with her, and like we knew that inadvertently we kind of like wrote the part of Deborah for her anyway, so it just happened to like fit perfectly.
Mhm.
And yeah, she was really great. Like she was one of the like the most professional on set, and a blast to work with because she perfectly like complemented Michael Rizzo, right? So her name's Karina Brzak. Shout out. Yeah, she was like she had all the emotional beats like really down. She was very professional, and like she always knew her line. She was always on cue. She always proposed these like fun ideas on the spot that only enriched the story. And for her, it was just like a question of like also trying to drill down some of the comedic timings to also fit with Michael's performance. So it was a little bit of like the give and take for both to like kind of like even the playing field. So that was really really fun to direct, actually, because they're vastly different actors. One is very a little bit more physical and very more like expressions driven, and Karina was very much like a little bit more in touch with like all these nuances and all these like intricacies of their relationship. So it was a learning experience for all of us.
No, for sure. Sounds like it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun, and also a lot of rehearsals though. Like I'm a very I'm a director that likes to prioritize a lot like how the emotional beats hit you, and like I had a very directorial DP in the fact that like she was also helping me a lot with like the actual shot list and like the framing, and like she was very much more from the technical side, and then that thankfully allowed me to also free me up to really work with the actors. So we had a lot of time to rehearse the choreography, because I don't know if you've noticed like seeing the film, but like it has a very ping pongy sort of dialogue, right? Like there's a lot of very specific tempos and very specific movements that have to be integrated with the camera. So it was also having enough rehearsal to like know the moves, so that then on set you can throw it all away and just like have that in the back of your mind and just have to worry about the more performance heavy side of things.
All right. Well, it sounds like you kind of had a vision, or you kind of had a philosophy as far as directing is concerned before you even went to school. So I'm just guessing. I don't know that, but
Yeah.
where did at some point in time, you're just a person with good ideas, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to create content that people can tangibly look at.
Hmm.
And how did you go from a person that's just got ideas to somebody that says, I'm going to make movies?
Yeah. Honestly, that's a good question. I come from like a different background. Like I haven't always known that I wanted to be a director, that I always wanted to be involved like in like the more art side of things. Um, I actually like went to study in Houston as a D1 athlete. So like a lot of my background is just being a track athlete and like doing long jump, triple jump, and like all these disciplines, and a little bit more on the sports centrics. But like at the same time, I always knew deep down that I had a passion for like movies, and like I didn't just like watching them. I like the behind the scene, and like I always lingered on like the story and like how so that was always I didn't know growing up here that like you could do that for a living. So I always just disregarded it as like something that I like as a hobby in the background. And I also enjoy like I'm a very physical person as well. I see for better or for worse a lot of Michael, the character in me. It also informs the writing. But yeah, so I always like sports. I actually like went there with a scholarship to like do track in Houston. And then along the lines, I was just exposed to like a place where that was like very different from the my upbringing, and there were all these like improv workshops and like acting classes and like really showing me the full spectrum of film. And hopefully I was also lucky enough to meet up like-minded individuals and we ended up forming like a group together. And that's where I guess I started to like really flex my creative muscles, right? Because having the resources of the university and not really having to worry a lot about competition, like we were just able to like every week or like a bi-weekly thing where we would just do a comedy skit. So it was just very much that like we didn't have to wait long to have our ideas actually implemented on the screen, because
Mhm.
we were not setting out to make these like month-long short films from the outset. Like we were all like amateurs. We wanted it to feel a little bit more like sporadic or like on the spot, or it's like we would meet and it's like, hey, I have this cool idea where like I don't know, like something stupid, like this guy farts and this guy laughs, and it's like, oh great, let's shoot it, and we would just like literally just shoot it, and like sometimes it happened to look good, sometimes it was bad, but just and we did like a ton of those for years, right? So it was just like 3 years of doing that and just like a YouTube channel for those things, and like also feeding off the demand of what the audience wants. And then over time, you start to develop these things of like, it's so freeing to be able to like have a committee with your friends and just like decide to make stuff. And along the lines, you just start to know if it's like really your passion and like who's better at which, right? Like you have like your roster of directors and then like the writers that are always coming up with great stuff. So hopefully that answer works for you. It's like a little bit more unconventional than
Yeah, for sure. No, it's good to hear your background. It's good to hear your approach. It
yeah.
seems like you just get out there and do it and just cross the barrier. And some people they call it paralysis by analysis, right? They want to just prepare and prepare and prepare and never do anything. And
Yes.
you sound
Yeah,
like someone
yeah.
who's just spontaneous. So
And like that's a different approach, right? Like there's also people that like wait it like a lot and it really pays off for them later, like they have like these drawn out but I think just for whatever reason, like me and my friends felt more like we were not afraid to take ourselves like less seriously. So we like
Mm.
almost like we didn't have to be afraid of like having to have our work protected of like or like I have to hit it right like right of the park at the first time so that it like it impresses the right people. We were like we just did it for ourselves because we just wanted to have fun. And like 6 months in or something, like then like the professor started to notice and they were like, oh, we can give you like school credit for this. And we were like, oh, school credit. And then like you start to take it more seriously, and then like it kind of becomes like a class credit, and then like you like slowly like start to form like a hierarchy of like, okay, we need to have weekly meetings and we need to like plan our sketches in advance so that we're not like doing like a week by week delivery. And
Mhm.
also, I think the fact that it was like comedy skits, like, or at least that's how we started. We also felt less of a need to really wait it out and like have this like big drawn out drama that like really hit all the right points. Like we were just, we were just like comedians. We were all like in improv together, and we were just like making stuff with a camera, and then like slowly learning its techniques and everything. All while
Oh,
attending
so what's
class.
next? Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
No, no, it's okay. I was finished.
So what's next for you?
Yeah. So right now I'm actually working at a production company here in Lima. We're making some cool stuff. It's kind of like a little bit of me doing my own creative projects on the side, and also like doing more creative agency or like marketing driven stuff, or like like the working with clients and all that industry. That's a little bit different. But yeah, I've been working on some creative projects. I have some hopefully some cool stuff coming out in the future. I I work a lot with like VFX as well. Like my like I don't know if you've noticed, but like the mountain has some hidden ones that's very slight compositing, and so I'm working on hopefully like live action with animation, or just like an animated short film of like a bullet traveling the world, which is very esoteric,
Oh,
very left
wow.
turn. I just
Mhm.
like to keep it up. Like I like to spice it up, like I feel like I can take a break from like relationship uh rom-coms or like relationship dramedies for a little bit, and then like it's exciting to explore this avenue, or maybe like a more musical comedy type avenue, so and also just like on the side writing a lot of like longer feature film screenplays, and just like getting feedback on those, I feel like it's a good time for me to do that, kind of like start to come up with different ideas and concepts. But yeah, that's just a little bit of what I've been working on.
All right. Well, exciting stuff, man. It's really good to talk to you and see what makes your brain tick as far as filmmaking is concerned. We're excited to screen your film in Houston, and I'm sure that you'll have a little bit of a reunion if you're coming up for the event. You have a little bit of a reunion of people coming to see it. Some local actors and things like that. So
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm very excited. Yeah, I can't wait.
good stuff. Well, hey, we appreciate you, and I appreciate your time. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. See you.
All right. Have a good one.